I always felt though that there was something, before I even understood what spirituality was or anything, I felt like the ocean and I had a relationship. And if I wasn't paying attention to it or giving it my energy, even as a little kid, I remember going up to Maryland for Christmas one year. We spent like 10, 12 days up there seeing cousins. And I came back and I remember going surfing and I was just totally out of sync with everything. And in my mind, the ocean was teaching me a lesson. It was like, you haven't paid attention to me, you're not gonna get any, you know? So I just couldn't get a wave that I wanted or be in the right spot and kept getting caught by waves. And that was the earliest, one of my earliest memories of like really having that interaction with the ocean. But I always felt like the ocean was sending me messages. I remember being actually younger than that, and with the waves coming in from the ocean, there would also be little waves going side to side near the beach, and I always thought it was friends of mine sending me messages from other beaches, like a smoke signal. And so I used to send them back messages saying like, "Stop! I'm trying to surf," you know. But I don't know. I just was in my own daydream out in the ocean, and I think I'm more of a, I guess I'm pretty methodical when it comes to competition and stuff, but as far as in my life, I think that my creative side is probably stronger than my planning side. And surfing is very creative, you know, and I think competition gave me these kind of barriers to figure out how to package the thing. But just going surfing, I just felt really free and no one else is going to tell me how to do it. And I sat in my imagination a lot of times looking at waves and imagining how I'd ride them, how my body would feel when I'm riding waves, the positions I would get into and how to use all my muscles and everything right to interact with the board and the wave properly. So I felt like I formulated my own way of surfing in some way.
Have you ever put any thought to why it is that you can communicate with the ocean, this relationship? Because it seems like throughout your entire career, you know, sort of one of the thing, a hallmark of your career is like when you need a wave, you know, especially late in contests, time after time after time, you're able to like somehow summon it.
Yeah, I did that a lot of times in my career.
Why do you think that is? How do you think?
Part of it's, I mean, there's obviously some kind of luck to it. There's obviously also some kind of like understanding I have of the ocean and of the situation and what's possible. You know, probably the most obvious and best one I've had in a really long time, probably in the last decade, was at the Pipe Masters a year and a half ago, surfing in the third or fourth round with Baron.
Round of 16, I think.
Yeah, round of 16, and there was like 45 seconds to go, and he had me on the ropes, and I knew I needed a really good wave. And with the amount of time, looking at my watch, I'm like, okay, I got 45 seconds left. That means I had just gone over a wave. That meant I could catch any of the next 3 waves, because there's about 14 seconds interval between the waves. So just doing the math in my head, I'm like, okay, if it's not gonna be this next wave, but I think it's the one behind. But if not, I have time to get out to the next one. And it was this, I think I ended up catching the second. No, I caught the third one, but I remember thinking I have to paddle out to it because I have to gain a couple of seconds. I'm only gonna have like a second or two once I stand up if I was sitting right where I had been. So I paddled out about another probably 20 yards, 15, 20 yards to get to the wave. And when I stood up, there was about 3 seconds left. And when that happened and I got the score and at that point I went, okay, I'm gonna win this contest. Because I feel like almost every event I've ever won, there was some magic that happened during the event. Just something just clicked my way and my confidence just went through the roof. And at that point, I feel like I lose all fear of losing and it just becomes complete forward on the accelerator confidence. And, but I don't always have that when I surf. Sometimes I need something that breaks that, whether I get myself in a bad situation, I claw myself back into the heat, or I get my back against a wall. Mm-hmm. I've also had periods of time where I was just dominant from the beginning of the heat to the end, but if it weren't for all the wins I've had sort of last minute, I wouldn't have won nearly as much as I have.
Yeah.
Obviously, but those just last second heroics have at times propelled me into other events, and maybe I'll win 2 or 3 in a row. Whereas I could have just lost and had a 9th place or a 17th or a 5th, and then all of a sudden I go on a 2 or 3 event win. So there's something that you just have to unlock that confidence, and I find the further I get along in a contest too, the less fear I surf with.
Interesting. I mean, you said after that, that wave that you got at Pipeline last year, that it was, you sort of had acknowledged, you're pretty emotional. You acknowledged, like, I can't believe how many times this has happened in my career.
Yeah.
But also that it could come as a product of just being in the ocean every day.
Yeah.
So is there a thought that, like the work turns into luck somehow?
Fun turns into luck at work, maybe. Yeah, you got to spend that time. When you spend the time, you start to unlock all the little secrets at different waves. At Pipeline, it's not a big zone, but there are in to out, right to left. There's some secrets based on what the swell's doing, the interval in the waves, the size of each wave, the angle it's hitting the reef, all that kind of stuff. So unless you've spent years and years out there, it's easy for someone who has spent that amount of time out there to kind of play it a bit different and play it better than you. And luckily, as far as the tour goes, there's only 1 or 2 other guys that are like even close for the amount of hours I've put in out there. But when I was, in my late teens and through my 20s, I put more time than anybody in the world at a Pipeline. I wanted to know every little aspect of every face it had. It was such a, we'll look at this picture on the wall. As a young kid, I was terrified of that. And now I look at this wave, this huge wave with a board going up the face, and the guy obviously bailed his board. And that looks fun to me. That just looks like, I can't wait. But as a little kid, I was like, oh my God, that would kill me. So there was this thing where I needed to understand that fear. I needed to put my time in out there and get familiar with the place. And